Colin had a problem and a microphone to spare. Thomas took it up and so the podcast went to air. For weeks and months they trawled through every single DVD. They've unwrapped all the ones they can and now they're cellulose free. Now they're cellulose free.
Hello dear listener and welcome to Cellulose Free. My name is Colin and with me as always is my fellow film watcher, compadre and son, Thomas.
Hi, hello.
What have you been up to?
Well, since the last episode, Desert Bus for Hope has wrapped up for the year.
It crashed.
By the time the last episode went out, we'd gone from 590,000-ish to 681,000-ish. And then, less than 2 days later, we were sitting at $1.19 million.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's huge.
It is. It's a massive amount of money.
Yeah, and once they got the money, they veered the bus off into the deserts of Nevada, never to be seen again.
And the result of all that money is that the run finished just 1 hour short of a full week, which is scary.
Is that the longest they've ever gone?
This is definitely the longest it's ever gone.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good on them.
Yeah.
And good on the crew, including yourself, that kept the wheels running in the background, kept pedaling and...
It's scary, because what ended up happening with me is I wrapped up my last shift, 1 a.m, the last day of, and then went and took a nap, and then came back to finish off the run, which went on until noon.
So your end shift thinking that when you got up it would all be over?
No.
No?
I knew it wouldn't all be over.
Right.
I knew I had enough hours to make it. It still ran quite long.
Yep.
And all signs point to it running longer in future years. So
cool.
That'll be fun.
That is good. Well, may not be so good for those who have to...
Not so good for anyone involved but the children.
That's right. Anything else you've been up to?
Apart
from recovering?
Yeah, some more Forza Horizon.
Mm-hmm. Have you been taking advantage of all the exploits that give you huge amounts of money?
No, they were patched before I could get to them.
Oh, I hear there are some more.
Right. I'm probably not going to bother with the exploits.
No.
The game has already given me well over 150 cars.
Isn't that kind of it?
And is very, very steadily giving me more money, which I could use to buy more cars if I so chose.
Right.
So
Just drive.
Just drive.
And don't do drugs.
There's some holes in what I can do with the selection of cars that I have, but I do have an awful lot of cars and I'm earning an awful lot of money, and it doesn't seem to matter that much.
Fair enough.
Also been working myself up, getting ready for Advent of Code, start of next month.
Uh-huh.
An Advent calendar just full of coding challenges.
And that's in Python?
I have been using Python.
Okay, so you can choose your...
Oh, yeah.
Right, so I might enter it this time around using Fortran.
Take your language of choice. And then at the end of this week, another episode of that German game show.
Oh.
That I watch.
So this is the second one? Is it? I mean, has there been one in between the last time you talked about it?
Fortunately not.
They're sort of interspersed, aren't they?
Right. Yeah, get a month or two between each one.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Now, instead of being up for a start at 4:15 in the morning, I'll be up for a start at 6:15 in the morning.
Sweet.
Which is either good or bad.
Oh dear, you poor soul.
Dear these things that I do to myself willingly.
It's a struggle and a battle from the womb to the tomb. Yep.
So that's me.
That's
what
you.
about you?
What about me? You can probably tell from my marvellous radio voice that I've probably lost about an octave because I've inhaled half of the front lawn and the other half was on my glasses until I just wiped them off earlier. You may hear in the background the sound of lawnmowers. There have been a number of weeks of very wet weather. And which has resulted in no one being able to mow their lawns, and also the wetness has made the lawns grow considerably, and I'm exhausted. I am absolutely exhausted, and I didn't end up even doing the backyard because I was just absolutely zonked by the time I'd finished all of the front. I did do the edges with the whippersnipper and the weed whacker, let's not go down that path again. And mowed and emptied the catcher and mowed and emptied the catcher and
Stalled.
I'm just glad it wasn't rye that the catcher was catchering.
Stalled a few times.
It did stall a number of times because the grass was just so wet and thick, and it would just catch the blades, which possibly need a change. It was 2 years since I last changed the blades on the lawnmower, so it's possibly time. I don't dare look. I mean, which suggests that possibly I do not clean the lawnmower out underneath regularly enough either.
Well, depending on how you feel about wet weather, this could be good or bad news.
The whole of this year, rest of this year is going to be wet.
A La Nina has been declared.
La 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 Nina.
Wet summer.
Oh, thanks for that.
I raised my arms pointlessly on this audio medium.
Yes, but you still got the audio ricochet from it as his arm came down and thwacked the microphone arm, which has springs in it that vibrate. I think, I could be wrong, but I suspect both of our voices are pretty much at the same resonant frequency as the springs in the microphones. Because quite often when I'm editing, you get a sudden reverberation in the springs. Thanks for that. Yes, so mowed the lawn. I'm pooped, and the rest of the week has been. It's been a bit of a bitzer of a week. I had plans and they didn't happen, and I think that a bit of the old depression kicked in, and I should do this. No, you don't want to do that. What I really do? No, you really don't. Don't I? No, you don't. Oh, I guess I don't. No, you don't. Just look at your phone.
Who would want to do things anyway?
Look at your phone. Just look at your phone. But no, you don't. Just look at your phone. Okay. Yes, so lots of that. But hopefully the film that we're about to watch will bring me out of my funk and just fill me with joy and excitement and really wild things. What are we watching this week?
We are watching Silent Running.
Okay, so that's not going to happen then. A film that I've watched a number of times, and you have too, once.
So you say.
This is going to be the interesting test to see whether it rings any bells as to whether he has in fact watched it or not. The plot apparently doesn't, although the description on the back of the case is somewhat questionable anyway. But what is that description?
As this science fiction classic opens, botanist Freeman Lowell? No.
I should point out that I edited out my running through all those pronunciations, but I'll leave yours in.
Freeman Lowell
has
spent 3 years aboard the space freighter Valley Forge, preserving the only botanical specimens left on Earth under huge geodesic domes. They're not on Earth. They're on a space freighter. When he receives orders to destroy the project and return home, Lowell rebels and hijacks the freighter.
Rebels. Lowells. Noels. We've got Christmas coming up soon. Sorry. Do go on.
It's November 24th.
I hear the sleigh bells ringing.
killing his fellow crewmen.
Oh, that's a bit of a contrast to the merriness of the Christmas carols.
Injuring himself and plunging the craft into the gaseous rings of Saturn.
Oh, dear.
Still hilarious.
It is.
Still...
Plenty of guffaws to be had from the gaseous rings.
From that moment on, he has only the trees, the gardens, and 2 drone robots, Huey and Dewey, to keep him company on the loneliest adventure of all.
Silent Running. That's what we're going to watch. It's on DVD. It isn't streaming anywhere. I keep saying that, but most places you can pay $4 to rent it, like on Apple or Google, but there's no streaming service that has it available on.
Paying to rent is quite some upfront cost compared to you have it and you can watch it.
That's right. My only concern is that whoever filled in the My Movies database for this stated that the aspect ratio is 1.66 to 1. And I know that this film was released at the cinemas in 1.85 to 1.
Well, the back of the case says 4x3 letterbox.
Yeah, well, that doesn't tell you anything, does it?
Could be anything, really.
It could be. So we're going to have to get the ruler out and measure which will be a determining factor as to whether this DVD gets replaced, because I've found it on eBay fairly reasonably priced on Blu-ray. But we'll see. that will come up in the conversation after we've watched the film as to whether it's worth doing that. So, Thomas is going to pop the disc out of its case. We haven't done this in a while. He's forgotten how to.
How do I do that without opening the case?
He's going to open the case. He's going to take the disc out of the case. He's going to pop it into the machine. We're going to watch it. Then we'll talk about it later. So we'll catch you on the flip side.
Turn to side B.
Mongrel.
I don't have a joke here.
No, neither do I.
No.
Okay, let's watch it.
Yes.
Do the thing.
You need to do the thing first.
Oh. So what did you think?
There are some parts of this film that I enjoy, and between those parts are some long montages.
Had you seen it before?
I cannot recall having seen it before.
Right, okay.
I maintain my position.
Surely you would have remembered the drones, Huey and Dewey and Louie. They didn't ring a bell?
No.
Right.
No.
Okay.
I'm sure I saw, like, pictures at some point, but... Nah.
Spoiler alert.
Uh-huh.
Do you know how they were done?
I do know how they were done.
Did you know prior to Googling tonight?
No. No.
Are you stunned?
No.
Okay.
Actually. It makes sense.
Yeah, but so well done.
Yes.
Absolutely awesome performances there. And they hold up. Apart from possibly the arms, which weren't the performer's fault. It was limits of technology. But even still, it was fine. To
be clear, we're talking about the performers of the drones who are double amputees.
That's right. Some basically at the bottom of the torso, and another performer who was a little further down. So each...
Any guesses which drone that one was in?
Yes. So each drone was designed to fit a double amputee who would then walk on their hands to be the feet of the drone. And absolutely amazing. I am still gobsmacked. So, yeah. It is worth watching just for those performances, I think.
Like I said, there are parts that I enjoyed.
Yeah.
And then there are parts that are long montages with music that I'm sure was different at some point, but did largely sound the same.
Are you talking the songs or the...
I am talking the songs.
The songs, yes.
Specifically.
Yes. I'm not sure how controversial it was then, but they have not aged well, and they now feel somewhat incongruous within because of the style, which was all very early 70s, late 60s type of groovy feeling, peace, love and mung beans type of deal. I am still an advocate, I guess, for this film. I have a warm spot for it. I would certainly watch this again sooner than I would watch The Black Hole again. And
2001, I wouldn't watch that before I watched this again.
Right. Journey to the Far Side of the Sun?
Now, hold on. Okay, so...
That was the Jerry Anderson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which order do I put The Black Hole and Journey to the Far Side of the Sun?
I don't know.
Because, spoiler alert, they're both at the bottom of that stack of 4 films. 2 of these films, 2001 and Silent Running, have shortcomings but merit on their own. I don't know that I would watch any of the 4 of them again, but I can appreciate Silent Running and 2001. I think Journey to the Far Side of the Sun edges out just on the back of the model work.
Fair enough.
Which firmly positions The Black Hole as the bottom of the stack.
I'm still hanging on to The Black Hole for the meteor ploughing through the middle of the ship. That is what will keep that on the shelf. A question. Bruce Dern, was he a hero? Was he an anti-hero? Was he a good guy? Was he a bad guy?
So, first of all, murder, I want to say, almost unambiguously wrong.
Surely you can accept a little bit of murder. Okay, all right. So that puts him on the bad side of things.
Yeah.
Okay.
Still a compelling character.
Yeah.
Regardless.
Yes.
When we're not in the middle of a long montage. Yeah, it's a reasonable performance.
Yeah.
From Bruce. I wouldn't call it an excellent or even great performance, but it works with the film.
It must have been hard playing against those drones. Yes, there were people inside them, but...
they're not talking, and they're behind a facade.
Yes. There were some great personality traits that were done with foot taps and that kind of thing. Yeah.
What is he doing?
The card game. I love the card game.
I would have liked that to maybe be a little tighter cut together, but I appreciate the scene.
Yep.
It works.
He was unhinged.
Yes.
Basically, and I think he portrayed that fairly well in that there were times where he recognised that he wasn't fully well, but it drifted in and out of that. So he basically cracked.
So we've talked about Freeman. We've talked about the drones.
Yes.
The rest of the crew, before they're murdered...
Spoilers.
Well, we said that in the description at the top of the show.
Right.
It's on the back of the case. It's probably in any description you read along with it. Not a huge spoiler, and pretty close to the start of the film anyway.
Yes,
so,
yes. They weren't long for this world, or that ship. No.
I find it tough to feel sympathy for them.
Again, it's another layer to that good guy, bad guy. Who were the good guys? Who were the bad guys in this?
I feel like there were some lines in there that were supposed to warm us up to them, but it didn't work.
No.
So
in that respect, they were not standard characters. They're quite ambiguous as far as redeeming or otherwise features. All of them. But yes, they didn't last very long.
One of them will try to stop the other two from egging Lau on, and then moments later they'll be joining in again.
Yeah.
And say,
Yeah. The racing through the ship, I can see happening. Being on such a long mission, bored out of their brains, they are likely to fall into that kind of activity. So, as did they all. So, yeah. Anything else you wish to?
No.
Okay.
We've mentioned 4 films, and I don't know that I would watch any of them again. But there we are.
Yes. Whereas, as I mentioned before, we determined that this DVD was in a 4x3 letterbox.
Which, of course, means that it is letterboxed in a 4x3 box.
And so it was black columned left and right as well.
Yeah, pillar boxed.
Yes. We zoomed into, and which worked quite well, actually.
I think it worked out.
That being said, I am going to order the Blu-ray.
You have fun with that.
I will have fun with that.
Don't know if I'll join you in that reveling. No.
Interestingly, as I was putting the disc away, I had this habit of tucking the receipts into the case. This is just shy of 20 years on the shelf. And I've watched it, I think that was the 4th time in 20 years that I watched it. And I will watch it again, but next time it'll be on Blu-ray, I think. And I will demand that you watch it with me. I will put my foot down.
I can no longer insist that I haven't watched this film.
No, that's right. I've got nothing as far as me saying I'm going to get it on Blu-ray. It has enough going for it for me to do that. Thomas doesn't agree.
No.
and he's entitled to that wrong opinion.
Next time on Margaret and David at the movies.
Yes, that's right.
Right,
well, we might...
There's not quite enough in the next segment to justify having the next segment.
Oh, good, okay.
But I will note Entwasfratu saying next week, rings do not work that way. And rings do not work that way.
Yes, I'm glad you brought that up because, yes, that is quite pertinent. Mind you, 1972, we still hadn't had probes reach Saturn, so it was very much an unknown.
We'd done some science and figured out that it had to be particles.
Yep.
But
other than that, so where it says going through the gas rings, that was certainly how it appeared in the film. There were no chunky ice or...
Absolutely pelted with things ranging from millimetres to metres in size.
That's right.
Do not go through the rings.
Well, thank you, Entwasfratu, for pointing that out and reminding me that that was an interesting... And they maintain the description on the back of the case. So it's probably a plot synopsis from 1972. All right. Well, we will move straight into the last segment then.
Pick a film for next week so we can go to bed.
And it's your turn.
It is my turn.
So you're going to pick a space movie, eh?
Next week is the start of December.
It is.
I'm not going to pick a Christmas movie.
Okay.
You decide what you want to do the week after.
Yep.
And then it's my turn for our year's finale, I guess, if we don't want to do the week of Christmas and the week of New Year's.
That is true. Yes, we will have a break, I think. Unless the borders close again, we will have family down and, yes, other distractions. So
hectic time of year.
Yes.
I'll be finishing off Advent of Code at the point of the month where they start getting quite difficult.
As will I. In fact, I think I'll alternate between Fortran and COBOL. No? Okay. It is still your turn.
It is still my turn.
Yes.
And given that I have not selected a theme or anything, I'm just going to shake this and it's going to
bring up a space movie.
Okay, it's going to come up with whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And the whatever it has come up with is a film from 1975.
Only 3 years after
It
the movie you
is
just watched.
rated PG for adult themes,
Right.
medium-level violence, and low-level coarse language.
Right.
It's set in 1900.
Okay.
It is directed by Peter Weir.
Oh, okay. You've been here,
I have been here.
but you haven't seen the film.
I haven't seen the film.
Wow. Wow, are you in for an experience?
The film is Picnic at Hanging Rock.
An Australian experience.
Yes.
Thomas and I visited Hanging Rock when he was but a lad.
The Wagga Wagga trip, right?
Yes, you were 11, I think.
The way back?
Yes, we're on
Yes.
our way back from Wagga Wagga. Went via Hanging Rock, and I had seen Picnic at Hanging Rock a number of times.
Right.
And as we approached the picnic grounds around it, I was filled with fear and trepidation that the place would disappoint. But it actually did the opposite. It was
Yeah.
more than
I seem to recall it was a good time.
yeah, but definitely a weird feeling around it. And the film we're watching next week plays on that. Thomas, would you please read the plot synopsis for Picnic at Hanging Rock?
St. Valentine's Day, 1900. On a beautiful summer's day, a party of Australian schoolgirls from an exclusive finishing school giddily prepare for an excursion to Hanging Rock, a magnificent natural monument drenched in a mysterious atmosphere. Among the white-gloved pupils of Appleyard College are senior boarders Miranda, Marion, Irma, and Edith. The girls gain permission to explore the upper slopes of the rock. Edith takes a nap and wakes to discover that the other three girls have removed their shoes and stockings and have resumed their trek as if in a dream, disappearing into a passageway in the rock itself. Mathematics mistress Miss McGraw goes to investigate, but neither she nor the other three girls are ever seen again. They have vanished without a trace. Based on the classic novel by Joan Lindsay.
Miranda!
Boasting visually hypnotic photography by Oscar winner Russell Boyd, a haunting score by Bruce Smeaton, and the timeless, ethereal beauty of Anne-Louise Lambert as Miranda. Picnic at Hanging Rock helped revive the Australian film industry and established director Peter Weir as a major talent.
We are watching Picnic at Hanging Rock next week. We hope that you can join us when we do so. But until then, we'll catch you next time.
Bye.
You have been listening to Cellulose Free. Your hosts were Colin, who produces and edits the show, and Thomas, who makes the artwork and music. Cellulose Free is recorded in the Deranged Cat Studios in scenic Tasmania, Australia. We keep track of our extensive physical media collection through My Movies, which we highly recommend. You can find links to that, as well as other places you can find us in the show notes. Cellulose Free is a Hi Hello production.
Have you stopped touching the microphone-y? Stop it! Stop. Let's get started.